Það laust þarna við hliðina Hrönn.
Já, þá klunga bara orðið. Þá ekki bara að byrja. Hi. My talk will be in English, but I'll just say a few words in Icelandic. Þess að, verð með þessa kynningu á ensku eins og heyrið og það er svona til að ná til ýmissa samstarfsmanna sérstaklega sem eru ekki í íslenskumælandi. En svo getum við nú kannski bara haft aðra kynningu á þessu seinna á íslensku. Fólk er að týnast inn. Ekki málið. Okay, so I'm going to present this project that is a part of my PhD. My name is Einar, and I'm working on this project with Tasja, Kristján, and Tommy. And my supervisors are Hrönn and Hasib. Hrönn is here at the institute, and Hasib at the university. So this is like a long study that we're doing, and it's not done. So I'll start with a caveat that these are preliminary results, and I am not presenting like loads of stats and stuff. It's mostly pictures and graphs, so we can take it easy. I'll start just by introducing the team. So it's me, of course, and then Tasja there, Tommy, Tómas Árnason, sorry, and Kristján Þórhallsson. So Tasja, many met her, she works here inside. Maybe not many have met Tómas and Kristján. They both work at Staður, our aquaculture research station. And of course, the team at Staður, the aquaculture research station, plays a huge role in this. And I'd like to mention Kristján Sigurðsson, who is a very strong fish whisperer at the aquaculture research station. And nobody knows him, but he is like a farmer, and he keeps fish alive. Okay, so this study came about because of two things. First of all, we have capelin in captivity, and that is because of this team that I'm mentioning at Staður. They have reared capelin from hatch to adulthood, which is a world first to do that. And it's very impressive because it seems to be quite a sensitive fish when you're rearing it. And Tommy has presented this to us at some point, so maybe some of you have seen it. So that's an opportunity to look at its thermal range, because we have often heard the word elusive when people are talking about capelin, because everybody's searching for it and not always finding it. And here's just one example of that, where Varsha, our colleague, and other colleagues were making these models to predict the distribution based off the observational data that we have. And there, one of the factors that played a role was temperature. I'm not saying anything wrong, right, Varsha? No, good.
In combination with other things.
Yeah, but I'm going to leave those out now. Okay. So this is an example of our fish, although sometimes they have, or most often they have, a bit of a more pronounced forehead, which is common in aquaculture. And we set out with three main questions. So how does the exposure to these different temperature treatments affect the capelin growth? And how does their growth at these different treatments compared to the growth in the wild? I won't present this now, this is just work in progress. And then we're looking at the sexual maturity and how it is affected by temperature. So Thomas has a very good scheme for getting capelin fertilized eggs, and gets that to fishermen, and then we get them in these ice cream boxes that my mother has not thrown away, and we can use for this. So they're fertilized at sea, and then they're grown at the station. And here's a photo of a recently hatched larvae. But the experiment that we're doing, that's not from hatch, it's from metamorphosis into adult form. And here they are just recently in one of our tanks. And the tanks are 10. It's 5 temperatures in duplicate, and lots of fish in each of them. 400, or something at the start, I think. And if we just give you some spoilers before you leave, the capelin, we're seeing it grow relatively well at quite high temperatures. So at the 12 degrees, there is still quite a good growth. The survival is very low at 15 degrees, and the sexual maturity decreases with temperature. That was pause for intensity. That if we just look at the length of each group over the age, we see that the 3-degree fish is a slow and steady one. The 15-degree one curves off fast, and we are starting to see the curve, the plateau of the 12 one, but not the 9 and 7 degrees that are here at the top. And then fitting a von Bertalanffy growth rate equation to these. I'm gonna start talking about leaving the 3-degree one out. So if we look at this L infinity, which is the maximum length that they're predicted to have by this model, we're basically seeing that it's decreasing with the higher temperature, so they won't attain as big of a size with higher temperature. And then this K, you don't have to look at the numbers. It's basically, K is like the speed at which they approach this or reach this maximum attainable length. That increases with the higher temperature. So what this means is they reach a smaller size with temperature, which is excluding number 3, and that they reach this smaller size quicker with temperature. This is kind of to be expected. The 3-degree one is that's not like within this generalization I'm saying. And there is also the fact that you can see that they are leveling off. We're getting a plateau in 15 and 12. We're not quite there with 9 and 7 degrees, so the parameter estimates are probably off there, so we need more sampling. And the 3-degree one, we will probably never get to the plateau. It grows so slowly that we would have to stay for a very, very long time with the experiment. But we hope to get like a little bit better parameter estimates with that. Now, if we look at the length-weight relationships, they're all positively allometric, which means that they're gaining girth faster than they're gaining length. Sort of the rate of gain of girth is faster than the rate of gain in length. I hope I'm saying this right. And then the relationship, how they do this is quite similar between all the different treatments. And then relative condition factor, which is basically how plump is the fish. It has to say with whether they're like in good condition or not. And generally, like the general rule of thumb is like at 1 they're in good condition, at higher than 1 they're quite plump and in very good condition, and below that not great. We see that 15 degrees is rising and withering very fast. Sorry, rising and withering away quite fast. That they seem to be like less plump with temperature. That is to say, they have a lower condition factor, relative condition factor with temperature, and they are sort of the length is catching up with the girth, I think, here at the end. Like they are becoming very similar, like in these newest measurements. So the highest age here. Do I have like a laser on? No, it doesn't matter. Okay. So if we go then into another condition factor, somatic condition factor, which is I just looked at this, like where we're taking away the weight of the gonads. So it's just a sort of somatic condition that we're looking at. Maybe a similar story, but what I want to point out is like this difference between 9 degrees in the light blue and 12 degrees in the orange. That if we go back to the other one, they are quite similar, and towards the end they're becoming even more similar. This is not the case in the other one, so there's a difference in gonadal weight that they're developing, basically. So that the 9-degree one is developing that gonadal weight, which the 12-degree one is not. So let's go into that. Then, if we just briefly look at the maturity stages, so we have just the count of how many are at each stage. We've merged some of the stages here, and then we have separate columns for male and female. And this is over age, so age is at the x-axis. So what we are talking about here is that, first of all, it's quite clear that the 15-degree one is not really maturing. The 12-degree one, sorry, seems to be maturing also less than the other ones. And then if we just look at the females, I think as of yet it's hard to say like whether there's this difference in maturity between 3, 7, and 9. But yeah, it will be cool to see like with more sampling whether we see 3 degrees separate more clearly away from 7 and 9 in the maturity. And here's just a photo of a female that is at 2 different kind of maturity stages. We see both maturity stage 2 and 3 in this one, so it's kind of immature and maturing. It's cool. I don't know if you see this at sea a lot, but it's cool. Okay, let's look at the gonadosomatic index, which is basically the proportion of gonads to the total weight of the fish. And this is just with all the data merged. Then we see that there's this decrease of the GSI with higher temperature, although the 15-degree one throws it up a little bit there at the end. And if we separate this for like each of the sampling dates, so we have the large numbers above each plot is the age of the fish at that sampling date. And we basically see a similar relationship. And yeah, the only thing I want to point out here is that in this last one, when they're 1.94 years old, there's like a stronger relationship when the 15-degree one is out, because, spoiler, it is dead. So, yeah, so what was I going to say? Yeah, the 15-degree maturity. Like at first it was surprising us a little bit that we're seeing this maturity at this high stage. Maybe makes sense with like the temperature size rule, with the development at high temperatures being more accelerated than the growth itself, leading to sexual maturity at a small size and young age, and then they just die. Okay, but look, speaking of death, let's look at survival. So these are all the tanks, and just on the y-axis, how many fish are in a tank over time. The colors indicate the temperature treatments, and in red we see the 15-degree ones die off pretty fast compared to the other ones. Then the 12-degree one, they are quite separated, the two of them, and I'll come to that later. The rest are quite similar, with one tank in 3 degrees being sort of the survivor But speaking of this difference in the 12 degrees, it's quite interesting because like here is where they differentiate between each other. And this was when above like one of the tanks in the station, accidentally there's like a small air fan that was turned on for a short amount of time, and they just died really fast. So just to give a sense of how sensitive they are. So, and you can see then after that, the trend is quite similar. But yeah, I think it's a cool little result. Okay, so I'm keeping it short and sweet. We'll just go over what we're saying here. We're seeing that they grow differently at different speeds across temperatures, and they're reaching their maximum size faster at higher temperatures. They are smaller at higher temperature, except this 3-degree exception, which is, maybe because of we're not far enough into the sampling. I'm not sure. I think it would never reach such a like a high size as like the 7 or 9-degree ones, which seems to have like a very strong growth rate. And then the sexual maturity is clearly affected by the temperature regime, and they just die at 15 degrees. So next, we're going to continue this experiment for a few more samplings. Like we want to get to a better plateau for the 7 and 9 degrees at least. It looks like we are there for 12 degrees, but we will also sample some more the maturity to look a little bit more at the different proportions in the maturity stages. But the maturity data is a little bit, we can't totally trust it because it's not like in the wild where it's sort of they're following these environmental cues, because they are like coming up to these different maturity stages at different points in time as well. Yeah, then it'll be interesting to compare the growth with the wild population and look into whether this data can be helpful to anyone at all. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Opna hurðina. Opna hurðina. Já. Hvað segirðu? Jón Tómas.
What happened in September? Can you show exactly? You see like the orange,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. September, we did have a sampling there, but I don't know if I can't remember if there's like another event there. It's in an Excel file. Tommy, do you remember it? Or?
I think it was a measurement. We took probably how many fish per tank?
We took 25 per tank, but yeah, we also did like an extra length measurement, I think.
Yeah. It was during the measurement which they died, so they were extremely sensitive to handling.
So we do like two kinds of measurements. So we're doing measurements where we're just like, we put them in anesthesia, a light one, and we measure the length and weight, and then put them back. But then we also do the maturity sampling, and there we euthanize them, and they don't go back. Yes. Okay. Erin?
What is their lifespan in the wild? Like, how long can you second them?
What is it, like 3 years? Yeah. 5 years, some of them, the old ones. But isn't that like the most common, something like 3 or, yeah. Good to get everyone else to answer my questions here. Tommy, you had a comment maybe?
I was just one question about the effects of maturity on mortality. In nature, they die when it's born. So in this experiment, you were getting a lot of maturity among many individuals. Do you see any increased mortality due to maturation?
Yeah, like I looked a little bit into that, and I didn't see any clear trend, and it's kind of weird in this because we're not sure like whether they're spawning. Like we see some of them that are like running, spawning, but like it's not very clear whether they're like just then going back, like bailing on the maturation and going back. So it's a little bit weird conditions that we have them in that sense. Theo?
Have you run any similar experiments for salinity?
No.
No. Is it something that we expect or not that much as the
From the like at least from the distribution model, yeah, absolutely, and they are at least with regards to the hatching, they actually hatch better at lower salinities. That's quite interesting. Like if we go through the how do you say it? Like their ancestry relates to like salmonids, freshwater. So it's something connected with that.
I can comment a little bit on that. We have read them at 6 ppb, so very close to freshwater, and they do fine.
Yeah.
Large.
Yeah.
Very good at 6 ppb.
Einar.
Did you measure anything on the dead ones?
So we have all the dead ones frozen, and that's going to be a big effort this spring to measure them. So, and we have also maybe mention, like if anyone's interested, we have the heads of all the fish that we have sampled. So there's DNA for all of them. There's also otolith microchemistry if anyone wants to do that. Yeah, and then we have every fish that has died. Jacob?
So it looks like the fish in the warmer temperatures are more susceptible to the stresses induced by handling.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done any survival experiments without touching them?
Without touching it with our hands?
Straight survival experiments.
No, I mean, this is our experiment, basically. We see that we just see them at 15 degrees, they're not doing great. Like, if there's any noise, like, they're more stressed out. If you take them up in a bucket, just very carefully, and put them back in the tank, you may get mortality there. So, like, yeah, I think you would get more mortality, but they're also very sensitive. And we were seeing also abnormalities in their like S-shaped spines and stuff like this. Theo?
But you do see them dying before the actual measurement, right?
Yeah. There's often fish at the bottom of the tank, and it's just more, at 15 degrees, and then it was just almost no fish left, so we just measured the ones that were left. Alice?
Yeah, in the idea of this fan,
What? Sorry, what?
when the fan was turned on and you saw the dark, is it like gas?
I think it's just noise and like a movement above them, but it's nothing that I know. Like it's just like they're stressed out. But
Looking at the fish, they seem like they received the fan as a bird.
yeah.
They went down to the bottom and were sitting there, very stressed, and that was enough to kill them.
Yeah.
The fan is on right now. No, they're not like.
Why is the fan on? Cow.
So if a fish dies, you go and take it out.
Yeah.
You do that.
Yeah.
So that's going to probably increase the stress on the
Yeah.
because you are.
Yeah. There's also you also need to clean. You also need to sample. You also it's an experiment. There are definitely stuff imperfections in that sense. Okay.
To get a better sense of the stock that started the experiment, so the way they were sampled, they were all from sort of a single location. The stock that formed the
Yeah, they're from. There were fished, I think, in Faxaflói. Am I remembering it right? Yeah, it's like from this ship Víkingur, I picked them up in Akranes. They had, I think, fished them in Faxaflói.
And they were potentially all either a sort of potentially sibling to half-sib relationships across some of these.
This is the cook on the ship that has like a diagram from Tommy, and then he doesn't follow it, but it works.
The concoction that you made with the different gonads, using them
he's
together.
just like dumping eggs, and then, good luck with the DNA.
So roughly randomized assortment of kinships across the different.
I think so. I think he's like a random fish generator.
Yeah, so when you're sampling, what you're doing, you're sampling randomly. No pre-notion.
Sorry, Kauko, you said the sperm comes.
No, I'm just kidding. But where does the sperm come from?
Yeah, but there as well. He's just mixing. He's just mixing into the ice boxes from my mother, and then
He is fertilizing.
yeah, they're fertilizing.
It's from the same color, you know.
Yeah.
One catch.
I think so. I mean, I won't make any promises. See.
I just have one notion of, you said that they grow at a faster speed, but they grow at a faster rate.
Yeah, right.
Just,
Tack.
Yeah.
Tack. More comments and questions?
I don't know if I understood very well, but are you trying to see the behavior in the captivity, right?
Yeah, to see how they grow in captivity. Yeah.
Of how do they behave in the nature? Yeah.
I would say, based on that, we never know where they are. Okay, that's not right. But based off that, they do elude a lot. No, there's definitely gaps in knowledge there. But there's a lot of data on capelin, on their condition at different times of year, and there's a lot of data on where they have been related to different environmental conditions. So I would not say that we are data poor in it, but we are outside of the sort of environmental range, with this 15-degree, that's ecologically irrelevant. It's not in the game, but it's good to understand physiology. Varsha, you have a comment on this?
To that, the thermal range in the natural is
Yeah.
from -1 to 6.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
And they are highly migratory. They are in Icelandic waters, they migrate to East Greenland, and they come back to Iceland. And they go from the cold East Greenland waters to the warm waters in the south of Iceland.
Yeah, I'm not sure this was heard online from Russia. So thermal range -1 to 6, lots of migration. Yeah. Does that answer? Yeah. Okay, should we go sleep somewhere else, or? Thank you.
Because I was wondering if you see the parameters, like a very low dome shape in most of the curves. So like the optimal growth rate. I'm just thinking about this temperature range between 1 and 6.
Yeah, and then here's the absolute growth rate. And that's yeah, that's showing us that the optimum seems to be just below 9 or something like that, and it becomes a little bit lower with time. So the youngest age is at top, and then it's older. Growth is not.
It's not on the temperature range that you find.
Exactly.
This is the thing, it's pretty high, the temperature also for the,
Absolutely.
well at higher temperature, because
Yeah.
climate is negatively impacting, but it's kind of counterintuitive to look at this.
Yeah. So their optimum, seems to be 9.5, depends on the age. But then again, that's not the optimum for the sexual maturity.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just a huge factor, because growth rate is like a very limited like stress indicator
Yes.
or like a performance indicator. Okej, tack. Gracias a ti.
Vad säger du?
3 minuter.
Ja. Är det tack eller nej? Det var bara framöver.